The stars were never truly silent. Humanity had long learned that even in the emptiness of space, a whisper of movement could mean life or death. On the edges of the Orion sector, a signal blinked into existence, weak, irregular, almost pleading. It was not like any signal Earth had ever recorded. Yet for all its brokenness, it carried a message. We are exiles. We seek refuge. Dr. Leora Kane leaned over the holographic console in the United Nations Orbital Command Center. Her hazel eyes reflected the flickering blue of the projection, which showed a fleet of alien ships battered, limping, and drifting toward the human-controlled sector. Each vessel was sleek and alien, silver and black with jagged edges and soft glowing veins of light. Yet the more she studied them, the more she realized that these ships were not built for war. They were made for speed, exploration, and survival. They're damaged. Badly, said Commander Ryan Thorne, standing beside her. His voice was calm, but there was an edge of tension. Whatever happened to them, they barely escaped, and yet, their technology is unlike anything we've seen before. Faster, more efficient, intelligent in design. They're running from someone, Leora replied softly, almost to herself, and they're asking for help. The council chamber on Earth was tense when the report came in. For months, the United Nations had debated whether humanity should venture further into deep space. Humanity had the ships, the technology, and the courage to explore, but few wanted to entangle themselves in alien politics. Exiles from unknown civilizations, one council member said, frowning. Do we even know their intentions? They could be spies, invaders, or worse. Leora stood and addressed the chamber. We don't know who they are, yes, but we do know this. They are fleeing death. Look at their fleet, they're not attacking anything. They are weak, alone, and cornered. Humanity has always prided itself on compassion and courage. Do we turn them away or do we welcome them? The chamber was silent. Some delegates whispered to each other, worried. But Leora noticed something in their expressions. Curiosity. Humanity was not a species that could ignore a challenge, especially one that might change the course of history. Finally, the decision was made. The Zypherans, as the exiles called themselves in their broken communications, would be allowed to approach human space. Humanity would extend a hand. The Zypherans arrived slowly, their ships drifting like wounded birds. Leora and Ryan watched from the observation deck of the flagship Horizon, the first human vessel to greet them. When the alien fleet drew closer, human sensors picked up faint energy readings, bioluminescent pulses running along the hulls, almost like a heartbeat. They're alive, Ryan said. And so is their technology. It adapts. It responds. When the first Zypheran ambassador materialized in the human ship's communication room, Leora felt a shiver run down her spine. The being was tall, taller than any human, with translucent skin that shimmered like starlight. Its eyes were deep pools of silver reflecting curiosity, fear, and something else, hope. We seek refuge, the Zypheran said. Its voice melodic but fragmented, as if words were not its first language. Banished. Stars judged us. Falsely accused. Survival. Please. Leora stepped forward. You are welcome here. We will help you. You are safe with us. The Zephoran's eyes widened slightly. A motion so subtle it could have been missed. Its voice softened. Safe, welcome? Yes, Leora said firmly. Humanity welcomes those who need protection. You do not have to fight for your lives alone anymore. In the days that followed, human engineers and scientists worked alongside Zypheran technicians to repair their broken ships. The process was painstaking. Zypheran technology was advanced, but it was unlike anything humans had ever built. It responded to thought patterns, biological rhythms, and emotional signals. Humans learned quickly, adapting tools, sensors, and even their approach to energy management. At the same time, cultural barriers caused minor friction. Zypherans found human customs chaotic, impulsive, and strangely emotional. Humans, in turn, struggled with the alien race's precise, almost ritualistic patterns. Yet slowly, mutual respect began to form. One night, as Leora walked along the observation deck, she watched the Zypheran ships hovering in the void outside. The stars reflected off their hulls like shattered diamonds. Beside her, Ryan Thorne broke the silence. They're fragile, he said quietly. If their pursuers catch up, none of this will matter. Then we must make it matter, Leora replied. Her voice was steady, but inside she felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. Humanity had chosen to help these aliens, knowing that doing so could spark a war, or worse. Yet the thought of turning them away was unbearable. The first signs of trouble came on the fourth day. Scouts reported a fleet of unknown vessels approaching the human sector, moving with aggressive intent. Their formations were tight, coordinated, and deadly. They were Zypheron's pursuers, the ones who had banished them in the first place. Human military commanders convened in the operations room. The situation was dire. The alien fleet outnumbered humans in firepower and numbers. Yet in a moment of quiet determination, Leora spoke. "We do not fight because we seek power. We fight because we choose to protect. These beings came to us for help. If we fail them, we fail ourselves as humans." The council debated, advisors argued, and generals planned. But Leora's words resonated deeper than strategy. Humanity had always thrived not merely on strength but on courage and ingenuity. And perhaps in helping the Zypherons they would discover strengths they had never known they possessed. The first encounter with the pursuers happened at the edge of the Vega expanse. Human scouts reported small skirmishes, fleets testing each other, probing weaknesses. But humans responded not with brute force but with clever maneuvers, using asteroid fields, reflective debris, and improvised energy shields. The human fleet slowed the attackers, bought time for the Zypherons to complete repairs, and demonstrated an unusual kind of bravery that even the alien exiles had not expected. The Zypherons began to call humans the Welcomers. At first it was a term of cautious respect. Then slowly it became a term of admiration. Zypheron engineers watched as humans adapted their own designs to patch alien ships. Zypheron scientists observed humans improvising solutions with minimal resources, showing ingenuity born not from knowledge alone, but from the determination to survive and protect others. Leora walked through the human fleet one evening, seeing humans and Zypherons working side by side. Sparks flew from welding torches. Sensors hummed. Small Zypheron children, few had survived the exile, watched humans teach them simple games, showing patience and humor despite the ever-present danger. It was in that moment Leora realized something important. Humanity was more than a species capable of surviving the stars. They were capable of inspiring hope, even among the banished and broken. As Part 1 drew to a close, the Human Council received the final, chilling report. The pursuing fleet was closing faster than expected. Soon the true test would come, not just of strength, but of ingenuity, courage, and humanity itself. But for the first time, Zypherons looked to the humans not as strangers, not as potential threats, but as something rare in the universe. Allies who would fight not just for victory but for compassion. The newly constructed human refuge lay on the edge of the Vega expanse, a quiet system of asteroids and barren planets. It was far from any major trade routes, a place where the Zypherons could rebuild their fleet and regain strength. Yet it was not a prison, it was a sanctuary, built with open skies, energy shields, and facilities that combined human practicality with alien technology. Dr. Leora Kane walked through the hub of activity, marveling at the scene. Humans and Zypherons worked side by side, their differences apparent but their shared purpose stronger than any friction. Engineers adapted alien tech to human designs. Scientists exchanged knowledge, bridging gaps that once seemed impossible. Even children, Zypheron and human alike, ran through corridors laughing, learning games that crossed species barriers. Leora stopped at a small workshop where Zypheron technicians were carefully repairing a ship's damaged engines. Sparks flew from welding torches and the soft hum of energy fields filled the air. "How long until it's fully functional?" she asked. The lead Zypheron engineer tilted his translucent head. "Weeks, perhaps. But your humans, quick, faster than we expected. Your methods, not precise but clever." Leora smiled. "That's humanity. We don't always follow the rules, but we find a way." Nearby, Lieutenant Commander Ryan Thorne monitored the sensors. The pursuing fleet had slowed for now, cautious after the first encounter, but they were not gone. Their presence was a shadow over the refuge. Every day, humans and Zypherons wondered if the attackers would return stronger, faster, more merciless. Life in the refuge was not easy. Humans had to adapt to Zypheron customs and Zypherons to human ways. The Zypherons slept in cycles that were unlike human nights and days. They communicated not just with words, but with subtle shifts of light across their bodies, and sometimes humans misunderstood their intentions. Miscommunications led to small conflicts. A human engineer assumed a Zypheran gesture was agreement, only to find it was a warning. A Zypheran child touched a human tool in a way considered dangerous by human standards, causing panic in the workshop. Yet every conflict was met with patience. Leora often reminded both species, "We are learning. That is progress. We will not be perfect, but we will try together." One evening, Leora and Ryan stood on the observation deck, looking out at the Zypheran fleet slowly regaining power. The ships were unlike anything humans had ever seen. Smooth, reflective hulls that seemed alive, energy lines that pulsed like veins, engines that responded to thought as much as to programming. They were beautiful, dangerous, and fragile all at once. "They trust us," Ryan said. "That's rare. I've studied alien races for years. They usually hide or attack. They are showing us their true selves." "They had no choice," Leora said softly, "and yet they still chose to let us help them. That says something about their nature and about ours. About humanity." Her words were interrupted by an alert. Human scouts reported movement in the Vega expanse. A scout fleet of the pursuing aliens had appeared near the edge of the system. They were watching, testing defenses, waiting for weakness. Ryan frowned. "They are closer than we thought. And they're not bluffing. They want to end this." Leora took a deep breath. "Then we will show them why humanity welcomes those in need. We will protect them." The next few days were a blur of preparation. Human engineers worked tirelessly to adapt their fleet to Zypheran technology, creating hybrid ships that combined human durability with alien speed. Soldiers trained alongside Zypherans, learning their movements, their strategies, and their unique combat style. But the true challenge was diplomacy. Many Zypherans had never trusted outsiders. Decades of exile and betrayal had made them wary. Some did not understand why humans were risking their lives for strangers. Others feared that humans might demand something in return: loyalty, obedience, or worse. Dr. Kane held meetings with Zypheran leaders, speaking through translators that converted subtle pulses of light into speech. "Humanity does not demand loyalty," she explained. "We do not fight for glory or conquest. We fight because it is right to protect those who cannot protect themselves. We fight because every life is valuable. If we fail you, we fail ourselves." The Zypheran Council studied her carefully. Slowly, trust began to form. Not blind trust, but a cautious hope. The kind that sprouts when desperate beings see a chance to survive. One night, Leora walked through the central plaza of the refuge, observing a scene that made her heart swell. Zypheran children played with human children, learning to run, jump, and laugh despite differences in size, gravity sensitivity, and energy perception. Human soldiers shared stories of Earth, of struggles long past, of victories won by cleverness rather than force. Zypherans listened, sometimes speaking in bursts of light that danced across their skin. A small Zypheran girl approached Leora, her silvery eyes wide with curiosity. She touched Leora's hand gently, her skin cool and shimmering. "Human and kind," she said, her words broken but sincere. "Safe here?" "Yes," Leora replied, smiling. "You are safe. Welcome." The girl's eyes sparkled with a light that mirrored the stars outside. She ran off to join her friends, and Leora realized that the Zyphorans were beginning to see humanity not as strangers, but as something extraordinary, protectors, allies, and perhaps even friends. But peace was fragile. The scouts' reports grew more urgent. The pursuing fleet was forming, gathering strength, and preparing for an attack. Their ships were sleek and deadly, armed with weapons humans had never faced. The Zypherans knew this battle could destroy them, and perhaps humanity too. Fear spread quietly among both species. In a council meeting, Zypheran leaders voiced their concern. "We should leave," one said. "Humanity is weak compared to our pursuers. You will be destroyed if you fight them." Ryan leaned forward. "We are not weak. We are humans. We adapt, we improvise, and we protect those who cannot defend themselves. That is strength. And it is why we will not abandon you." Leora nodded. "We will not run. We will stand together, and we will show them why humanity welcomes the fallen." As preparations continued, small victories built confidence. Hybrid ships were completed, sensors improved, and human ingenuity transformed weaknesses into advantages. Engineers discovered that Zypheran engines responded to emotional energy. Calm, focused humans could increase efficiency. Panic would decrease it. Soldiers practiced controlling fear. learning that their own emotions were now a weapon as well as a liability. The Xiferans were amazed. They had never seen another species use its own limitations to create strength. Slowly, admiration turned to respect, and respect to something deeper: hope. On the eve of the expected attack, Leora and Ryan stood together on the observation deck, looking out at the hybrid fleet. The stars sparkled around them, indifferent to the struggle below. "Do you think we can win?" Ryan asked quietly. "It's not about winning," Leora said. "It's about surviving. About proving that even in the harshest universe, kindness, courage, and intelligence can make a difference. If we fail the Xiferans and we fail ourselves. But if we succeed—" She paused, watching a Xiferan child wave from a ship's observation window. "We change the galaxy's understanding of humanity." Ryan smiled faintly. "Then let's show them." The stars shimmered like shards of glass, the Xiferan fleet glowing faintly as it hovered near the human refuge. Somewhere in the darkness, the pursuing fleet moved, unaware that it was about to face something it had never imagined. A species that fought not only with strength, but with ingenuity, courage, and an unwavering sense of justice. The calm of the Vega expanse was shattered one morning by an alert that made every human and Xiferan hold their breath. Sensors picked up the approaching fleet. The pursuers had arrived. Their ships were massive, angular, and black as void itself, armed with weapons capable of tearing apart planets. They moved with precision, a deadly dance that spoke of experience, training, and cold strategy. Dr. Leora Kane stood in the operations center, watching the blips of approaching ships on the holographic map. She felt a familiar mix of fear and determination. Around her, human commanders barked orders. Engineers raced to finalize defenses, and Xiferan technicians adjusted their ship systems with nervous hands. "They're stronger than we imagined," Lieutenant Commander Ryan Thorne said, his eyes scanning the display. "But they underestimate us. They don't know humans. They don't understand what we can do when we refuse to give up." Leora nodded. "We will protect them. And we will fight smart." The first skirmish came at the edge of the asteroid belt that shielded the human refuge. Human ships darted between massive rocks using gravity and debris as cover. Xiferan engines, repaired and optimized by human engineers, hummed with energy as they joined the maneuvers. The pursuing fleet fired massive plasma blasts. One hit a small asteroid, shattering it into hundreds of fragments. The debris flew toward human and Xiferan ships alike, but human pilots trained in improvisation guided their ships through the chaos, dodging what seemed like impossible odds. A small Xiferan vessel, newly repaired, struggled to maintain course. Leora's voice came through the comms. "Focus on your breathing. Calm your mind. Let the engines respond." The Xiferan pilot hesitated, then relaxed. The ship pulsed with energy, accelerating with a speed humans thought impossible. It weaved through the debris, avoiding destruction. "Impressive," Ryan muttered. "They're learning faster than we expected." The battle escalated. The pursuing fleet used every tactic known to the galaxy: flanking, energy blasts, and attempts to disable the hybrid ship's engines. But humanity's ingenuity turned the tide. Engineers had rigged asteroids with magnetic pulses, causing enemy ships to veer off course. Sensors detected enemy energy patterns and relayed them to pilots in real time. Human soldiers adapted their strategies on the fly, predicting enemy movements based on intuition and experience rather than rigid protocol. In the middle of the chaos, Leora watched a young Xiferan engineer repair a damaged ship mid-flight. Sparks flew, but her hands were steady. "You're amazing," Leora said softly. The Xiferan looked up briefly, eyes shining with pride. "You're humans. Clever. I see why. You survive." It was moments like these that reminded Leora why humanity's role in this conflict was not just about strength. It was about heart, courage, and cleverness. Amid the battle, a message came from a distant scout. The pursuing fleet had split, sending a strike force toward the refuge itself. Panic spread among some Xiferans, their fear evident in the pulsing of light across their skin. "Do not panic," Leora said, standing before the council. "We've prepared for this. Remember what we've learned. Adapt. Think. Protect. We do not fight because we are invincible. We fight because we are determined to survive and to save those who cannot fight for themselves." Ryan added, "Follow human ships. Watch their maneuvers. Learn. The pursuers have experience, yes, but they lack one thing: our adaptability. As the strike force approached, human pilots led the Zephyrin ships through a narrow pass of asteroids, creating a bottleneck. The pursuing ships, confident in their numbers and firepower, rushed in without caution. Then, at the perfect moment, magnetic pulses triggered, disabling the engines of several attackers. The remaining ships were forced to swerve, colliding with debris or each other. "Now," Leora shouted. Human and Zephyrin pilots surged forward, striking with precise, coordinated attacks. The hybrid ships moved as one, a single organism guided by human intuition and Zephyrin technology. The pursuing fleet faltered, unprepared for such a combination. Even so, the cost was high. Several human ships were damaged, and a few Zephyrins were injured in the debris fields. The sound of alarms, the flash of energy blasts, and the tension in the air reminded everyone that victory was never guaranteed. Yet, despite the fear and chaos, humanity's spirit shone through. In one daring move, Ryan piloted his ship directly into the path of a massive energy cannon, drawing fire away from a group of vulnerable Zephyrin vessels. He maneuvered at the last second, narrowly avoiding destruction. The Zephyrins watched in awe. They would sacrifice themselves for us, one of the Zephyrin engineers whispered. "They are humans," another replied, voice filled with respect. "They fight not just to survive, but to protect." Meanwhile, Leora worked frantically to maintain communications and coordinate defense strategies. She noticed a pattern in the pursuers' attack, a flaw that had gone unnoticed. Their fleet responded slowly to unpredictable maneuvers. Humans, with their quick thinking, could exploit this weakness. She relayed instructions to the pilots. Focus your attacks on their command ships. Force confusion. Make them react, not act. Use their own formation against them. Within minutes, the hybrid fleet executed the plan flawlessly. The pursuing fleet's command ships were hit, causing disorder. Enemy vessels collided, overshot, or were forced to retreat. The Vega expanse erupted with chaos, yet the human and Zephyrin ships moved with precision, turning the attackers' strength into their own advantage. After hours of fighting, the pursuing fleet finally withdrew, battered and confused. Sensors showed several enemy ships destroyed, others limping back toward the void beyond the system. Humanity had not defeated them entirely. This was not the final battle, but the Zephyrins were safe for now. The hybrid fleet regrouped near the refuge. Zephyrins were exhausted but alive. Humans were weary, but their spirits burned brighter than ever. The sight of Zephyrin children running through the corridors, unharmed and laughing despite the danger, reminded everyone why they had fought. Leora stood on the observation deck, looking at the damaged yet proud Zephyrin ships. "We survived," she said softly. "We showed them that we are not just fighters. We are thinkers, protectors, and allies. Humanity has a place in the galaxy that no one can ignore." Ryan joined her. "They underestimated us," he said. "But we have more than firepower. We have courage, creativity, and a refusal to give up. That's what makes us strong." Leora nodded. "And that's what makes us different. That's why they call us the Welcomers. Not just because we save lives, but because we give hope." That night, as the hybrid fleet repaired and replenished energy, the Zephyrins gathered around Leora. Their leader, tall and shimmering, spoke with a voice full of wonder. "You, humans, more than we imagined. We thought we would die. We expected betrayal, fear, death. But you fought for us and you taught us something. Hope, courage, trust. You are extraordinary," Leora smiled. "No one is extraordinary alone. But together, we can face the stars no matter how dark they seem." A young Zephyrin girl approached, her small hand reaching out to touch Leora's arm. "Thank you, human, for saving us." "You are welcome," Leora said. "We will not stop here. We will learn, grow, and protect. That is humanity's promise." As Part 3 ended, the Vega expanse returned to a tense quiet. The pursuing fleet was gone, but their presence lingered like a shadow. Both humans and Zephyrins knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers, and not all would welcome the collaboration of two very different species. Yet for the first time, humanity had shown that courage, intelligence, and compassion could stand against the storm. The Zephyrins, once broken and exiled, now had allies, and the stars themselves seemed to whisper that hope was not lost. The Vega expanse was quiet for only a few days. Sensors continued to sweep the darkness, searching for any sign of the pursuing fleet. Humanity and the Zephyrins knew that peace was temporary, The enemy was regrouping, repairing, and planning. But they had underestimated one thing: the bond between humans and Zypherans and the ingenuity it could create. Dr. Leora Kane stood at the command center looking over the hybrid fleet. Ships of human and Zypheran design hovered side by side. Engineers had worked tirelessly, fusing alien technology with human adaptability. The ships were faster, more versatile, and equipped with clever defenses that no rigid fleet could anticipate. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Thorne walked beside her. "They'll be back," he said, "and next time they won't make the same mistakes." "That's why we won't fight the same way twice," Leora replied. "We fight smart. We fight together." The next days were a whirlwind of preparation. Humans worked in shifts, repairing ships, building new hybrid models, and creating traps in asteroid fields. Zypheran engineers were amazed. Humans didn't just follow instructions, they improvised. A broken weapon system was repurposed into a defensive pulse generator. Damaged engines became mobile energy shields. Where the Zypherans thought something impossible, humans found a way to make it work. Even the Zypherans began to adopt human ways. Their rituals became slightly faster, their energy pulses more flexible. Humans and Zypherans trained together, learning each other's strengths. Human intuition complemented Zypheran precision. Where Zypherans calculated angles and energy output, humans predicted behavior, instinctively reading enemy movements. By the time the pursuing fleet approached again, the hybrid fleet was ready, not just to defend, but to take advantage. When the first blips appeared on sensors, tension ran high. This fleet was larger, more organized, and clearly determined to finish what they had started. The Vega expanse trembled with the approach of thousands of ships, energy beams, and deadly missiles. "Steady," Leora said. "Remember what we've learned. Use the terrain. Use the stars. Use your minds." The human and Zypheran pilots nodded, their hands steady on controls. They knew that this battle would not just test weapons. It would test cleverness, coordination, and courage. The engagement began near a dense asteroid belt, chosen as a natural trap. Human engineers had rigged the asteroids with magnetic pulses, kinetic disruptors, and energy nets. The pursuing fleet charged confidently, believing their numbers and firepower would overwhelm. They were wrong. Hybrid ships weaved between asteroids with incredible speed. Zypheran vessels adjusted to human maneuvers instantly. The enemy found themselves slowed, disoriented, and forced to follow unpredictable paths. A wave of magnetic pulses disabled several engines, while energy nets entangled others. Humans anticipated these movements, launching counterattacks at precise moments. "This is impossible," one Zypheran engineer whispered. Humans, clever beyond calculation." Leora smiled. "That's what I've been telling you. Adaptation is more powerful than raw strength." The battle escalated further when the pursuing fleet split into two wings, trying to flank the hybrid fleet. Ryan piloted his ship at the lead, drawing attention to the larger enemy wing while the Zypherans struck from unexpected angles. Missiles were deflected using asteroid debris. Energy beams were redirected with magnetic pulses, and human pilots improvised maneuvers that no Zypheran could have predicted alone. In the heat of battle, the hybrid fleet discovered a weakness in the enemy formation, a flaw in their coordination. Leora realized that the fleet depended on rigid hierarchy and predictable patterns. Humans and Zypherans working together could exploit this. "Focus on their command ships," she ordered. "If we disable them, the rest will scatter. Use everything we've prepared." For hours the battle raged. The Vega expanse glowed with explosions, energy flashes, and debris. The pursuing fleet was strong, but it could not match the unexpected ingenuity of its opponents. Human intuition guided maneuvers that confused the enemy, while Zypheran precision struck critical points with deadly accuracy. During one daring sequence, a human pilot navigated through a collapsing asteroid cluster to deliver a crippling strike to a command ship. The Zypheran co-pilot complimented him with a pulse of light, a sign of admiration. The enemy ship exploded in a bright flare, sending shockwaves that disorganized the rest of their wing. Ryan maneuvered through the chaos, drawing fire away from vulnerable Zypheran vessels. His actions inspired humans and Zypherans alike, showing that courage and quick thinking could save lives even in the most dangerous moments. Meanwhile, Leora monitored the energy fields and weapon systems, coordinating attacks in real time. She noticed patterns in the enemy's firing sequences. "They respond slower when surprised," she said. We need to hit them in unexpected ways, create confusion, and use their own strength against them. The hybrid fleet executed her plan perfectly. Asteroids detonated in controlled bursts. Energy pulses created temporary shields, and unexpected maneuvers forced the enemy into collisions and misfires. The pursuing fleet faltered, unable to comprehend the level of adaptability and teamwork they faced. By the time the battle ended, the pursuing fleet was retreating in disorder. Many ships were destroyed, others crippled. The hybrid fleet had won, not just through force but through intelligence, strategy, and human ingenuity. The victory brought relief, but not arrogance. Humans and Xiferans knew that the galaxy held even greater dangers, yet the outcome had changed something fundamental. The Xiferans now understood the full extent of human capability, not just in fighting but in thinking, adapting, and protecting. Their leader approached Leora in the aftermath. "We misjudged humans. We thought you were weak, fragile, limited. But you are extraordinary. You do not only survive, you thrive, you adapt, you inspire. You are not just allies, you are something greater." Leora shook her head. "No one is greater alone. Together we achieve what no one could do alone. That is the lesson of this battle." The Xiforans nodded, understanding in a way words could not capture. They had been exiled, hunted, and broken. Humanity had welcomed them, protected them, and fought beside them. In doing so, humans had not only saved lives, they had earned trust, respect, and perhaps something more profound: friendship. In the following days, repairs continued. Hybrid ships were reinforced, new defenses installed, and strategies refined. Xiferans studied human tactics, noting patterns of intuition, improvisation, and rapid decision-making. Humans marveled at Xiferan technology, learning techniques to enhance their energy fields, weapons, and navigation systems. Children, human and Xiferan, played among the repaired ships, a quiet testament to survival, hope, and the possibility of a shared future. Even amidst war and danger, life found a way to continue. Leora walked through the refuge one evening, watching Xiferans interact with humans in ways that were once unimaginable. Engineers laughed as they collaborated on repairs. Soldiers exchanged stories across species lines. Children learned each other's games, languages, and customs. She paused, watching a Xiferan girl adjust the lights on her skin to mimic human expressions. The child looked up, smiling. "You, human, clever," she said. "You protect us." "Yes," Leora said softly, "and we will continue to protect you. That is humanity's promise." The victory in the Vega Expanse had proven something to both species. Humanity was not just physically resilient, but creatively unstoppable. Intelligence, courage, and moral conviction had triumphed over raw force. And while the pursuing fleet was temporarily repelled, the galaxy was vast, and greater challenges loomed on the horizon. Yet for the first time since their exile, the Xiferans felt hope. Not just survival, but the possibility of a future. And humanity, as always, had been the spark. From the observation deck, Leora gazed at the stars shimmering like scattered diamonds across the void. She knew that battles would come, threats would rise, and danger would never truly vanish. But humanity had proven that it could face the storm, adapt, and protect those in need. Ryan joined her, silent for a moment, letting the enormity of the moment sink in. Then he said quietly, "We didn't just win the battle. We earned respect. And maybe something more." Leora nodded. "Yes, we've done more than survive. We've shown what it means to be human. And the Xiforans now know we are more than they ever imagined." The stars stretched infinitely before them, full of unknown dangers, unknown worlds, and untold possibilities. Humanity and Xiferans would face them together, stronger for having found each other in the darkness of exile. The Vega Expanse had finally quieted. The pursuing fleet had retreated, defeated not by sheer firepower but by the ingenuity, courage, and cooperation of humans and Xiferans. Yet the shadow of the enemy lingered. Intelligence reports suggested they were gathering support in distant sectors, plotting revenge, or perhaps preparing a larger strike. Humanity and the Xiferans knew that the galaxy could be cruel, but they had proven themselves ready to face it together. Dr. Leora Kane stood at the observation deck, watching the horizon of distant stars. Xiferan ships hovered nearby, repaired, glowing faintly, their engines humming with quiet energy. Beside her, Lieutenant Commander Ryan Thorne adjusted his uniform, scanning the fleet with pride. "They'll be back," Ryan said softly. "And next time it could be worse," Leora nodded. "Perhaps. But we're ready. And more importantly, we've built something they cannot break. Trust, cooperation, and hope. That is our true strength." In the following days, diplomatic communications were sent across nearby sectors. Humanity and the Zypherans worked together to reveal the truth about the exile. The Galactic Council, previously unaware of the real events, now received irrefutable evidence. The Zypherans had been framed, cast out not for crime, but because their innovation and intelligence threatened powerful interests. The Council listened, debated, and eventually acknowledged the truth. Orders were issued condemning the pursuing fleet and its command structure. For the first time in decades, the Zypherans were no longer outcasts. They were vindicated. But victory was more than political. It was personal. Humanity had earned the respect of a species that had known betrayal, fear, and exile. Zypheran leaders visited the human refuge, their once cautious gestures now open, trusting. Children ran freely, playing games that combined both species' traditions. Engineers laughed as human and Zypheran minds worked together to build better ships, improved sensors, and energy networks that could power entire colonies. Dr. Kane walked through the central plaza of the refuge, watching Zypherans and humans interact. It was a scene of joy, relief, and quiet celebration. Zypherans adjusted lights on their skin to mimic smiles, a gesture they had once thought too human to attempt. Humans exchanged stories of Earth, teaching songs, games, and traditions. One young Zypheran girl approached Leora, holding a small, glowing orb. "Human, friend," she said, her words broken but heartfelt. "We, grateful, safe. Because of you." "You are welcome," Leora said, kneeling to meet her gaze. "We didn't do it for thanks. We did it because it was right. That is what humanity does." The girl's silver eyes glimmered like starlight. "Right, courage, humans, best." Leora smiled, brushing a hand lightly across the child's shoulder. "And together, we are stronger than the stars themselves." Meanwhile, human military leaders worked with Zypheran strategists to prepare defenses against any future threats. It was a partnership built not on fear but on understanding. The Zypherans taught humans advanced navigation techniques, energy management, and defensive systems. Humans taught Zypherans improvisation, rapid problem-solving, and the use of intuition alongside precise calculations. It was a perfect balance. Where humans thrived on flexibility, Zypherans excelled in precision. The combination created fleets that were faster, smarter, and more unpredictable than any force in the region. Humanity had not just welcomed the Zypherans, they had integrated them into a shared vision for survival, exploration, and diplomacy. Word of the alliance spread across neighboring systems. Initially, other species watched with suspicion. Humanity had intervened in the affairs of an exiled species. They had fought and won in a way that challenged galactic assumptions. But as the story of Vega Expanse reached council chambers and distant colonies, awe replaced suspicion. Humans did not conquer, did not enslave, did not take advantage of the Zypherans. They had offered refuge, fought for survival, and shown ingenuity that transcended technology. Entire sectors began to rethink the place of humanity in the galaxy, not as a simple species among many, but as a beacon of courage, morality, and intellect. Back at the human refuge, the Zypherans were formally invited to join the interstellar coalition led by Earth. The ceremony was simple yet powerful. Flags of both species fluttered in zero gravity. Leaders exchanged formal greetings, and a declaration was made. Humanity had proven that kindness, intelligence, and courage were forces as strong as any weapon. One Zypheran elder stepped forward, light pulsing across her translucent skin. "Humans, we were exiled, lost, and afraid. You welcomed us, protected us, and fought beside us. We pledge our loyalty, friendship, and trust. Together, we will shape the stars." Leora Kane stepped forward, her voice calm but filled with emotion. "You are never alone. Humanity believes in protecting life. We believe in courage, in intelligence, and in hope. Together, we are more than we ever could be apart. Welcome, not just to our refuge, but to humanity itself." The ceremony ended, but its effects rippled far beyond the immediate vicinity. Zypherans began to integrate fully into human colonies. Children learned both human and Zypheran languages. Engineers collaborated on starship designs that combined alien brilliance with human practicality. Scientists shared discoveries, expanding knowledge in ways neither species could have achieved alone. In the quiet moments, Leora reflected on the journey. The Zephorans had been broken, banished, and hunted. Humanity had chosen to help them, not for gain, but because it was the right thing to do. And in doing so, humans had proven something profound. Survival was not enough. Morality, courage, and ingenuity could redefine a galaxy, but not all threats had vanished. The remnants of the pursuing fleet lurked in distant systems, angry and plotting. Intelligence reports suggested they were wary of humanity now. They had learned that force alone could not defeat humans. Cleverness, adaptation, and unity were equally dangerous. Ryan stood beside Leora, looking at the stars. They won't forget this, and someday they may return. Let them come, Leora replied. We will face them with the same courage, the same ingenuity, and the same willingness to protect. And we will be ready, not just to survive, but to lead. The Vega expanse, once a place of fear and exile, had become a symbol. Humanity's courage and ingenuity had transformed it from a hiding place into a beacon. Zypherans were no longer outcasts. They were allies, friends, and a testament to what could be achieved when one species chose compassion over fear. As life in the refuge settled into a new rhythm, the Zephorans began sharing their culture in ways humans had never imagined. Holographic light gardens, thought-based communication devices, and songs that resonated through energy fields became part of the daily life of the colony. Humans listened, learned, and laughed. Children, human and Zypheran, played games that spanned language and species barriers. Leora often walked among them, watching the small victories of understanding and trust. Each smile, each shared laugh, each successful repair of a ship was a step toward a lasting partnership. Humanity had not just welcomed exiles, they had changed the future for both species. One evening, as the sun, or rather the system's star, set across the asteroid horizon, a Zephyran elder approached Leora. You, humans, more than survival. You, hope, courage, compassion, intelligence. All in one, you. Inspire. Grateful, Leora smiled. We do what we can, and we will continue to do more. Together, we can face the galaxy no matter how dark it seems. Humanity will protect, inspire, and adapt, not just for ourselves, but for all who seek refuge, hope, and friendship. The elder nodded. Then we stay, not only here, but always, by your side. From the observation deck, Leora gazed at the stars, scattered like shattered diamonds across the void. Somewhere in the darkness, remnants of the pursuing fleet lurked. But humanity had proven that courage, intelligence, and morality were as powerful as any weapon. The Zypherans were safe. Alliances had been forged. And hope, real, shining hope, burned brighter than ever. Ryan joined her, quiet for a moment, letting the enormity of the achievement sink in. Then he said, We didn't just survive. We earned respect, trust, and something more. Leora nodded. Yes, humanity showed the galaxy who we are. Not conquerors, not destroyers, but protectors, innovators, and friends. That is our legacy. That is our promise. Above them, the stars shimmered, eternal and infinite. Humanity had proven that even in the darkest reaches of the galaxy, compassion, courage, and intelligence could shine brightest. And in that light, the Zypherans found not only safety, but a home. The galaxy had seen the unexpected. Humanity, once underestimated, had welcomed the exiled. And in doing so, it had rewritten the rules of survival, alliance, and hope. The stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter that night, as if acknowledging the extraordinary truth. When humanity chooses to protect, to welcome, and to inspire, even the banished can find a place among the stars.